We have been fed a very specific story about how to save Nigeria. The narrative suggests the country belongs strictly to the young, that raw, youthful energy is the only fuel required to restart the engine. When we look at the streets, the raised fists, and the absolute refusal to accept the status quo, the passion is undeniable. But energy without a map creates a wildfire. It consumes everything in its path, leaving behind ash rather than a structure we can actually inhabit. Relying entirely on a generational takeover forces us into a loop of historical repetition. We innovate in circles, rebuilding the same flawed systems under different names. Rebuilding a nation requires a deliberate architectural overhaul. It relies on specific, multi-generational load-bearing pillars to support the weight of our shared history. This structural approach is called the Trinity of Responsibility, a framework designed by Victor Prince Dixon, known as the Transformer. The first pillar is the old. Their value lies beyond preserved titles, status, or ego. We need their failures. Their specific structural duty is to provide the map, to look at what they built and identify exactly where the design went wrong. We need the architects of our past institutions to stand in the wreckage of their own designs and point out where the landmines are buried. A sincere confession of past mistakes is the only way to clear the ground. Without it, the youth are left blindly building on top of hidden traps. The second pillar consists of the young. They bring a focused creativity, a civic intelligence that moves the focus from protest to engineering. This is where raw energy meets deliberate engineering. It is the active construction of functional infrastructure over the gaps of the past. Their responsibility is to take those honest problems, the specific failures mapped out by the older generation, and design the actual load-bearing solutions. If the old generation maps the holes, the young generation must build the bridge. Functional innovation serves as a structural response to the confessed truths of our history. It is the bridge built over the traps we finally acknowledged. But a risk remains. What prevents these young engineers from eventually becoming the same ego-driven guard they replaced? The failsafe is the third pillar, the driver of the unborn. Their presence acts as the pure moral anchor of the entire architecture. Maintaining this system requires building exclusively for the survival of tomorrow rather than the survival of our own egos today. These are the ultimate stakeholders of our collective resources. Their innocence is the only metric capable of keeping our motives clean. Building for a generation we will never meet ensures the structural integrity of the nation long-term. It turns the national cake from a prize to be fought over today into an inheritance protected for tomorrow. To map this trinity of responsibility, we use a simulation, the National Cakeboard Race Game. It translates abstract duties into a tangible blueprint. The game teaches that every action taken, every bite of the resource claimed, carries a direct consequence for the future. This framework is difficult because it demands the death of pride from the older generation and the death of impatience from the youth. It requires us to commit our lives to a generation that will only know us through the systems we leave behind. This trinity of responsibility is the most painful way to rebuild a nation. It is also the only path that results in a structure that lasts.